I think that Baldur's Gate 3 is an amazing game. And I think that because, not so deep down, I know that Baldur's Gate 3 is an amazing game. And yet, it is the only single-player game that I ever actively, knowingly, without it ever doing anything but what it was made to do, rage quit. Every few years or so, I stumble over a game from a franchise I've never played before, sometimes not even heard of, and I think to myself, oh my god, I need to play this. And usually I am very correct in my assumption that I would love said game. For the past 10 years, these games have included The Witcher 3, Cyberpunk 2077, Red Dead 2, and, well, Baldur's Gate 3. And it seems like my streak is broken. Whether a game is good or bad is in most regards due to subjective reasons. And here even more so. And now, after putting another 20 hours into it, I have finally found some answers to the questions I didn't even know I had. But first things first. While sitting in my latest round of D&D, I suddenly felt the urge to give BG3 another chance. If I enjoy D&D this much, surely BG3 can't be as bad as I remember it, right? I know. BG3 and D&D are not the same game. I feel like they are the same game just as Battlefield and COD are the same game. Very similar base mechanics, different structures, orders, timelines, detailed stuff. I love playing a role, I love imitating people, things, noises, I love exploring stuff, being confronted with difficult, fantastical choices in video games, and generally I have no problem with sticking to these choices. Teaming up with friends, spending time with them around a table full of pens and papers which slowly become magical places of otherworldly adventures sounds like my perfect evening. And Baldur's Gate 3 is basically the same. I played together with my partner, the setting and story and characters immediately got to me, and everything seemed to point to a really good time. And 5 hours later, I uninstalled the game. First I thought that it was the whole concept of dice in general. Why can't I not just hit? Why can I not just unlock? Why can I not just talk? I chalked me being sick of the game up to this and called it a day. Yet, a few weeks later, we started our D&D adventure and I loved and still love the throwing dice aspect of it. And when I realized this, I wondered, why again did I leave BG3 then? Because, man, this game is so good. It looks great, the art style, UI and general graphics are so well balanced out and tuned to each other, even though I prefer the controller layout, more on that later. The story grips you from the very second the intro cinematic starts and it is so good. There's no real need to talk much about the characters, I think. In terms of general game review stuff, this game has been talked about to no end, so what much can I add, especially in terms of praise? The only thing that stood out a bit sorely to me is how, it's hard to find the right words, how overdrawn the characters sometimes are. 2 Steam reviews describe the companions as either exhausting divas that need constant support and therapy instead of being professional adventurers or mercenaries, and as how 16-year-old girls think romantic partners work. And even though the first one clearly doesn't understand that an almost emotionless workhorse of a companion is just as boring as constantly caring for them can be annoying, the second review isn't too far off what I think. I like caring for my companions and listening to them. They are supposed to be some kind of people with problems and worries and wishes and needs. When in Red Dead 2, everyone in camp talks all the time about everything. It is seen as peak world building, but when Will approaches the player to talk about his dad, that's annoying? Yet when Asterion speaks like this to me and tells me to lay down on the bedroll with him to indulge ourselves in the blood-soaked sins of the flesh, or whatever, my suspension of disbelief is broken quite a bit, and I cannot but think of the 16-year-old's concept of romance review. But, relax. This is a fantastical world. There are tieflings and githyankis and mind flayers and ogres and ghouls and the devil and everything. So I think it's not too much to ask when I say, try to get into it. Try to accept the world as it is, as wacky as it is. It has helped me a lot. That being said, I am not sharing my bedroll with that pale Faerun version of David Bowie's face. Okay, so it's not the graphics, it's not the characters, it's definitely not the amazing score by Borislav Slavov. What is it? I sat down and played. I created my character, again, a female version of my D&D character, Ibea Findebear, shout out to my Witcher fans, and got into it. Well, everything was like I remembered it. I did take more time with everything, as I knew what to do and where to go until the Goblin Camp, which made me appreciate the first area more. I went out of my way to not immediately go where I'm supposed to go, but explore here, search there, talk to this person, talk to that person. Talk. And decide. Oh my god. It hit me. The few RPGs, well, action RPGs I played, especially The Witcher, work like this. Imagine there's this big, dangerous-looking criminal-type fella approaching you in a tavern, and he wants to beat you up. There are 3 dialogue choices. Try and talk him out of it, threaten him physically, try and bribe him. So I would then think about it. Words don't seem to be the type of currency this guy's dealing in. Threatening, sure, maybe, but I just left all my weapons at the door of this fine establishment, so I'm not as scary anymore. So bribe it is. He's happy, we go our merry ways. And in BG3, it's the same. You can expect characters to act according to their affiliations, views, maybe even their race, your looks, your history, and the surrounding situation. And then you have to throw your fucking dice. I know this is how the game works. I knew this going into it for the first time. But I underestimated how much it would fuck me up that the path I choose, even if it is the logically correct one to choose, might still go wrong because of the dice. And I know that because of the dice, because of nat 20s and bonuses and whatever, I can make even the dumbest of paths work. It is something else to be able to choose your own adventure, go new and creative ways just through the sheer possibility of 1 in 20. It is balanced, it is fair, but it is so hard to accept for me. Why, says my brain, why did this path fail? It is the most sensible solution to the situation. Why, oh why did it all go wrong? Well, because of the dice. But why then, my brain asks, why do these dice even exist? Why do they have the power to destroy all that I worked for? That is what I finally found myself asking. That was the reason why this game annoyed me so much. And the answer is beautifully simple. That's life. Life is nothing but constant choices and skill checks. And even when you bring flowers to the date with the person who loves them, they might be the one kind they don't like. Even if you're a charismatic jokester everyone loves, some jokes don't land. And ever since I realized this, it's going better. I actually have the urge to play BG3. I even convinced a friend to get it so we can play in co-op. So, what else? I am doing a few things my way to make the experience even better. Me liking the game enough to really want to play it is a volatile state, so I'm making sure I'm able to stick to it. First of all, yeah, I am safe scumming. Usually I don't do this and stick to my choices in every choice-based game I play. And in the grand scheme of things, I am doing this in BG3 as well. I, for example, killed a character, not much later, maybe 10 minutes. I learned a lot about their backstory, possible future story, part of my group and such, but no, I am sticking with my decision. This is not what I'm safe scumming for. But let's say I decide to lockpick a locked chest and steal from someone. Then I want that decision to actually be the way I go. So if my check fails during unlocking, I will reload. And if that theft then explodes into all-out warfare, so be it, I will not reload. I'm also playing with a controller on my TV and use a camera mod. I know, stone him. But the biggest, I shit you not, the biggest factor keeping me from playing games like BG3 is the isometric view with the god-awful click-to-walk there mechanic. I hate it, I despise it. I want to fully and freely walk around and just... Luckily, this is possible with a controller. I don't mind lockdown controls during fights, but I need freedom for exploration. Also, I'm Unk now, my couch is much more comfortable than my chair and my TV much bigger than my monitor. talking about not being patient enough to watch my character walk, my brain craves constant entertainment, so I stopped trying to follow some kind of structure, which I started doing out of worrying that the game would get too overwhelming if I just randomly started doing quest after quest, exploration after exploration. Now, in my second playthrough, or better, second start of a playthrough, I have fully succumbed to my urges. New character, engage. New place, explore. Shiny thing, pick up. I have gone full magpie. Now, you might think to yourself, duh, that's how you're supposed to play the game, but that is probably just obvious to you. My D&D DM has told us many times to be less planning and to do less strategizing, to enjoy and embrace the situations more. And with that in mind, it does make a lot of sense that I struggle with the same thing in BG3. Anyway, magpie mode activated. Another thing that is loosely connected to the whole planning thing is, well, planning. I think I might underestimate how truly uncountable your possibilities are in this game. There was this one character that I approached who wanted me to kill people who I felt sympathetic towards. I was on good terms with the killer character and their posse as well as the victim characters, so stuff could have gone either way. Help the killer and have it easy, or help the victims and prepare for a fight. The thing though was that the only way, in my mind, to defeat the killer character was to challenge them to a fight in between dozens of her posse. I tried that fight a few times, but it was so long and tedious and boring that I finally caved and Googled. The solution was so easy, so elegant. You tell the killer you help them kill the victim characters. You're supposed to set a trap at the victim's base. You go to the base. You don't set a trap. You warn the victims, the killer comes, you defeat the killer and a part of their posse with the help of the victims. Easy. How the fuck was I supposed to know that works, huh? Can I just do shit like that all the time? Apparently I can. After this engagement, I started to pay attention to the dialogue options more, or rather to the placement of my options. And lo and behold, especially stuff like fights and betrayal carry deep into engagements. You can almost completely fulfill a quest for someone and then, for whatever goddamn reason you please, sink an arrow into their eye socket. It's crazy. The thing is though, I am scared that somewhere it might not work despite all I've seen so far. And sure, I might be able to reload then, but who knows how far I've gone since the last fork in the road. And that would wreak havoc on my motivation, I can tell you that much. I just can't imagine it being this open-ended. I guess I will have to see for myself. I asked a good friend what she likes so much about BG3, as she's the biggest BG3 nerd I know. She likes Larian's community work and engagement, how committed they are, how quick patches come in and stuff like that. She praises the characters and their development, the voice actors, I agree, and the writing, and to be frank, I think she dislikes the 16-year-old idea of romance aspect of this game much less than me. And she also has struggled with the concept of no way this works, right? But her admittedly much more positive takeaway of this is that she constantly finds new and creative ways of playing the game and exploring the world instead of worrying about how it'll play out as time goes on. I should learn from this. Oh, and her last point simply reads Astarion. I disagree. Well, here we are. It is 5 minutes to 1 in the morning and I'm contemplating whether I record the voice lines for the script or play BG3. You heard me right. The writing is done, I could stop playing and only further record what's needed for the edit, but I kinda like the game now. I got the hang of it in my own kinda weird way. And I think that's Baldur's Gate 3's biggest achievement, being a game of truly endless possibilities, a game everyone can enjoy in their own weird little ways. Thanks for watching.